You know that.
Hey, man.
They're all undefeated.
Aren't opinions? They are undefeated.
So, so I think last year the Chargers probably were the first team to have a good deal of success against Tua in your offense in terms of stopping in the middle of the field. He was 10 for 28, as you know, in that game. How much have you thought about that game over the last 9 months? And without obviously revealing any game plan things, are there things that you feel confident about that you can go to sort of counter that Brandon Staley plan that had some success last year?
The Brandon Staley plan. No, that it definitely comes up over the course of the off season at least 1/17 of the time. Divvied up amongst the other games, but no, there's things you learn. You always have to be careful about making too many absolutes. A lot of times there's those are game specific situations, whether that your health, the opponent's health, where you're at in the season, what you're good at, what you're bad at. Bottom line was, I thought they did a great job last year in those two teams, last year's teams. They did one of the better jobs all season, but this is a new year, really, is the way I kind of look at it. You do learn certain things about individual players, maybe play calling, degree of tendencies. But, week one has a great way of kind of like equalizing that because, you have all these things on your side of the ball, whether you're offense, defense, or special teams that you've been working on to unveil. So there's a little balance of that. We will be watching last year's game, but not with too much weight relative to the guys we have now and what we've been emphasizing this offseason.
Maybe Ronaldo Hill can tell you everything. That way.
I'm going through the motions this week. No, it was we obviously have Ronaldo on staff, so I think he's quick to jump on the sword and say all of the bad ideas were his and all the good ones were Brandon Staley's, or maybe it's the opposite. Who knows? But it's another connectivity spot that we have so many of them week by week in this league. But it's it was good information from last year. I thought they did a good job last year, and excited for this year.
Who's your backup quarterback and why?
And why? Well, no, this was a difficult one. Informed him late last week. We'll be going with Mike White as the backup to start the season. Feel super fortunate in our situation. It was kind of what we were hoping for. Is we've learned the hard way that you need available players on your roster just in general. And I thought Mike White and Skylar competed all the way until the last rep. And when it really came down to it, I thought they both made just cases. But for our football team and really adhering to exactly what a backup quarterback needs to do, they'll all be active each day. But to be able to understand our system in such a short period of time that Mike White did, and the command that he exudes in the huddle, and you're solving an imperfect puzzle as a backup quarterback where you don't get any of the reps during the week and have to master your situation, your craft, repless. So I think relying on Mike White's veteran experience and really all the growth that he did this offseason made me feel pretty comfortable with that.
I wanted to just clarify, you said all three will be active. You mean on game day or just on the active roster?
They are on the active roster. And there is a new rule where, so I guess I'm saying both. Am I?
Yeah, because for the new rule, I guess.
Yeah.
Necessarily have to be on the game day roster.
Yeah. I guess I was saying both, but in light of the new rule, there's it definitely makes certain of it. But yes, I was saying all of the above and neither at the same time.
How were they successful at taking away the middle of the field last year? I remember at the end of the game, you seemed to have a real respectful conversation with CLA when you guys, I don't know whether that was about anything about the game or, you know.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't more. It wasn't like they reinvented defense. It was more that their guys understood their issues in each individual coverage and really played in a competitive spirit. I thought there was a lot of 50-50 balls that went the way of the Chargers last year, and I just really thought overall that the team itself took that game with seriousness, and you could see a unit that was well coached and well schooled at the opposing team's offense in this case. So I just thought they were very competitive and did a very good job challenging things that we were trying to do that particular game.
Mike, you have 3 starters and 1 key contributor that are dealing with injuries. Wondering what you could tell us about Teron, Jalen, Brandon, and Devon.
So expecting to see Brandon and Devon today, as well as Waddle. Should be he got on some reps that last practice, and then don't expect to see Armstead today, but he's progressing well.
Kind of shelved for a little bit, from some breezes. Do you feel comfortable, if he gets a week of practice, that he's able to, play and contribute in week 1?
Yeah, I think I'll feel comfortable after today's practice being able to assess Wednesdays, and those are you really have to go day by day to guys that are coming back from injury, so you don't get ahead of yourself and start pushing them in adhering to a schedule that you made like last week. It's that much more important that you assess it each and every day. But I think the reps in practice are all that Brandon's really had the opportunity to take, and in those situations he's gotten better, and at some point he's going to have to play in the game, and we have no preseason games left, so at some point he will be playing fresh off of practicing, and we'll assess that, how much that is later in the week.
Coach, the list of the team captains came out. Was that a player decision, your decision with the rest of the coaches, and how did you guys come up with the 7 names that are now the captains for the season?
So that's something that we do a player-driven vote that the locker room really comes up with, which is one of the reasons it's such a special honor to each and every one of those guys, because it's voted on their most important on the most important really person of opinion in the building. That's their peers in the locker room.
Coach, it's been a while since the AFC Championship game has been hosted on these grounds.
Yeah,
I'd say about like 1992.
About 92.
Yeah. If you think about it, the football is starting to be played back all over America, and especially here in South Florida. The Canes kicked things off Friday. The Orange Blossom Classic Saturday. It was Sunday. So when you think about starting the season on the road, how much emphasis would that give you all to protect home field? So when it comes to that time to have the opportunity to host.
No, I think it's a good reminder, because our first game is not on our home surface, and there's things that are residuals because of that. You're talking about owning the snap count and having to go on silent offensively, and vice versa for the defense. So I think I didn't really think of it that way, but inherently that is, if you don't like this scenario, not being able to hear offensively and it being quite as amounts defensively, then you do have the opportunity to change it with regard to your with postseason play referencing. But that's way down the road. we're just trying to orchestrate ourselves for week one against a game or against a team that's going to be very much prepared, and so we better be prepared ourselves.
Going back to last year's Chargers game, that was kind of the start of a skid for this offense that you guys never really got to work out of before Tua was hurt in the Packers game. I'm just wondering how much of a motivator that stretch was, for you guys this offseason as you get everybody back to full health.
I think the season in its entirety was motivating enough, not just one particular game. I'm sure from an individual standpoint, players often harbor those individual matchups, those hey, it's man-to-man coverage and I'm covering you and you're running this route. Those types of things you develop, you kind of have a memory of, and but overall as a team, we have been focused on the Miami Dolphins for every day since we've gotten back together in 2023, and I'm pretty positive that up until this game and then after this game, most of the guys are going to be focused on the Miami Dolphins as well. So to not making more of one individual opponent, it's more about us and how it relates to us. I'm sure there'll be a couple, hey, I'm going to get you this time, you got me last time. But that's kind of the case with all these NFL football games.
Is Isaiah Wynn left mark 1 this week?
He will be getting reps this practice week, and he may or may not be getting reps in the game.
Week 1 is a kind of a chaotic week around the NFL in terms of not having film to go off of. How much do you have to lean on the rest of your staff to be able to kind of make those in-game adjustments?
Oh, it's I think the best staffs are the ones that it's not just one voice, and the more we're around each other, the more we understand what each one of our pros and cons, skills, and maybe things that we can help each other out with. That's a ever-moving piece. That the strongest ones are the ones that can really utilize each other for the benefit of the whole group and not just each and every entity. So I look forward to that. I could feel it in the preseason. It was one of the better orchestrating coaching staffs that I've been on in the preseason, so I'm excited for the residuals of that moving forward this year.
Mike, since you opened against the Chargers and since they put out a video in the offseason, and since I don't think you've been asked about it, what was your reaction to that vaping video? I never.
Huh? I don't know what you speak of. The schedule release. Hey, a lot of creative people doing creative things in 2023, which is pretty creative.
Coach, I know you're from Colorado, and there's been a lot of movement in college football.
Yeah.
A big weekend of college football too as well. What are your thoughts on
Colorado State Rams? Oh, sorry. No? Prime?
Yeah.
Oh, that's. I mean, you can't say it's not entertaining, and anytime that I think I have a lot of respect and regard for people that knowingly have no problem putting a bullseye on their back and then following through. So as a competitor and in the coaching profession, I appreciated that win for the Colorado Buffaloes and Boulder. There's I think they, it was a rough year they went through last year. So if there's another team that deserves a win, that's the Colorado Buffaloes. So that was good for them.
Mike, week 1 is unique in that you're not coming off a game. You have a practice on a Monday. Generally, you don't do that during the season. So when are you giving the players I know you've been working on the Chargers for a while, but the game plan, is it still the normal Wednesday, or is this week a little different?
You try to get guys into a routine as soon as possible. So you try not to they'll get their in-season Wednesday on Wednesday, and you try to make that as consistent for all the guys, which you find benefits over the course of the season. So when you do have an extra day, you try to make sure that you're operating on full cylinders, offensively, defensively, and special teams. That means your timing's right, your communication's right, and your execution is fast. You try not to get too ahead of yourself, because for us it's still about our game and where we're taking it, and kind of holding off to do the full Wednesday prep for Wednesday. Cool.